Hey guys, this is Oventis, and in today's video I will be talking about The Name of the Wind and painting Master Elodin. Now, roll the intro. I might have just said The Name of the Wind, but what I meant is the Kingkiller Chronicles and any related works by Patrick Rothfuss that I will be talking about. Now, if you don't know Patrick Rothfuss's works, then what are you doing? It is a very, very great fantasy series. It starts off with The Name of the Wind. The second volume is The Wise Man's Sphere, and the third volume hasn't been written in like almost 10 years. But it is still a great read, and it has like some minor works by Patrick Rothfuss as well that is related to this series: The Slow Regard of Silent Things and The Lightning Tree. I pretty much think I will keep this video spoiler free, although I have this idea or creed, or I don't know what to call it, is that if a book is well written, then you can read its whole synopsis, you will still enjoy reading it. And guess what? Patrick Rothfuss does not joke around. His works are amazing, and even though I will not tell you the whole synopsis of this series, you will still enjoy reading every bit of it, or like most bits of it. This story, or at least the main two or three books, are about a red-headed, very smart guy named Coat, who is like a depressed innkeeper and tells a story to his apprentice, who is a very, very handsome guy named Bast, and to a chronicler, chronic something. I actually have not read it in English, so, but I own a copy in English, so I'm pretty sure I will screw up some of the names or something. But so yeah, and so he tells his own story from his childhood, which begins him traveling with his family and troop. By the way, this book taught me the word troop, because I haven't known before that it means, you know, like a musical, theatrical company who are traveling on the road, although not necessarily. Whatever, so he is our main hero, and as most main heroes, he will go through some shit and grow as a person. And he goes through a lot of shit. Coat, because he is very dang intelligent, and he has a lot of interest to study magic. And while one kind of magic is pretty easy for him to learn, the other, the cooler kind of magic, named naming, is not. Yeah, this book has different kinds of magics. The difference is that the one kind of magic, sigildry or shigaldry or whatever you call it, is like, how I would call it, it's predictable. Like, it's like mathematics, you know? While naming is like a crazy type of stuff. And in order for him to learn, for Coat to learn these magics, and like anything else, basically, he wants to go to the university. And just as a side note, in my own experience, while reading this book, it had some ups and downs for me. So like, the beginning of this book, I read it pretty quickly, but then there was, you know, the shit happening part that to me was like pretty boring, although I should read it once more, I'm pretty sure, because now I know that that part is just as interesting. And then there is the university part, which hands down is the best part in the book. Why? Because we get to know my favorite character, Master Elodin, aka Master Hot Mess, or should we say my new obsession, or as I sometimes refer to him, Baby Boy. Before we jump into why Elodin is my favorite character, and I can't say that I don't care about anything else in this book, but yeah, pretty much. You have to know, so if you can't remember from like primary school or whenever, there are 3 ways to describe a character. There is like the direct description that the author gives. There is description from another character's point of view, and there is description by the character's acts. And what Rothfuss does in most cases is that either he describes the characters from another character's point of view or by their acts. Most characters in his books, we don't really get to know a lot of their physical appearance, although I am pretty sure that Elodin is described to have dark hair with leaves in it, and that he is younger than the other masters, which pretty much leads to the conclusion that he is hot AF. And if we see the acts part, I think Elodin is the coolest character because he is he has this kind of mystery about him. So like he is a master at the university, but he also seems like he is just dumb AF. And now you see, I think I'm not an expert at like literature stuff, but I'm pretty sure that these type of characters fall into like an archetype, and this archetype I very, very much love. As an example of this archetype is like Hamlet from, the Shakespearean play. Now, why Hamlet? Because the word or the name Hamlet derives from the Latin hamlessus, which pretty much means to play dumb. And what Hamlet does in the play, he plays dumb. By the way, I have a comic based on the play Hamlet, except that everybody is gay in it, and it is a parody. I don't know if it will be ever ready, but if you subscribe to my Patreon, you will get a lot of VIP pictures about it. Yeah, it will also be kind of spicy. And another example from a really different genre for this archetype, I think would be Xelos from the ancient anime Slayers, which was, by the way, my favorite anime as a child. Now, you know that my love for this archetypical character runs deep. This sounded funny. So yeah, and the thing is that even though Elodin is described a lot of times as like acting strange, he also has these moments when he acts like pretty normal and sensible. And as we learn from mostly the second book, his teaching methods are like, seem crazy, but in the end you can be pretty sure that he is wiser than he appears to be. And what I haven't really talked about is how other characters see Elodin, and if I remember correctly, somewhere in the beginning of the second book, there are some rumors that we learn about Elodin. One is that he started a fight in a bar because one guy was using a word too many times, which I think is hilarious. And another thing, or another rumor we learn, that he was reading in like the library section of the university naked. And this is what inspired this whole painting. Before I talk about the painting, let me just close this rambling off to make a kinda comprehensive review of the Kingkiller Chronicles. Code gets to a lot of shit. He might go to the university and get into even more shit, but I think the beautiful thing in this series is that it is not like, the 3 or 5 point act thing that, where there is, where, the story slowly builds up to a climax and then it goes down. Although, as to quote one of my favorite tweets ever, the climax of The Name of the Wind is in the second book. Ha ha ha. So this book is rather like, it keeps, like, it's like a wave. It has its point of downs and it has its point of, like, ups, I guess. Also there's some romance in it, which I think it's very boring, but a lot of people like it. And then in the second book there is some much more interesting romance going on. Now, if you've been keeping a close eye to this review kind of thing, then you may know that the book is called Name of the Wind because Code wants to learn the name of the wind. And so this type of magic, by the way, comes from this, I think, medieval stories or whatever, or legends or whatever, that if you learn the name of something, for example a dragon, then you have power or control over that thing or dragon. And so I think pretty much it just comes from this thing. And also, like, there are some bad guys in this book who are even more mysterious than our dear friend Elodin. And to me they are just fascinating as well. And it is very hard to describe Rothfuss's works, but you just read it, you get immersed in it, and you want to read more. Yeah. Now, let's talk about the painting. This painting, I think, at least a sketch of it, I started it, I think 1 or 2 years ago, sometime when I was reading The Wise Man's Fear. Since then it's been sitting in my good old art folder, and a few weeks before recording this video I just thought that it's been sitting there for too long and it needs to go, and so I finished it in like 2 hours or something. Now, I really didn't want to make it perfect, because now looking at it I just saw a lot of mistakes in it, mostly anatomical mistakes, but I was like, whatever, just let's get this out of my system and then let's be done with it. By the way, there I made a redraw of this painting with ink, which if you purchase my Bast and Elodin short comic, then you will get it as like a bonus illustration thing. The pose is a bit different and I think better, and overall I just really like that one. I will put a preview somewhere around in the screen if I haven't already. I really wanted to make this video for a long time because I think my channel so far only had like what I call drawings, where I, just make a sketch, color it, and that's it. But this one shows my process when I'm making a painting. So yeah, I first did the sketch pretty loosely because I knew that I was painting over it. But what I do first is that I block in the main colors under the sketch layer, and I do the painting on top in like separate layers, like a different layer for some of the skin, some of the hair, and it's like a bit more loose than when I do my quote-unquote drawings. I really like this piece because it is very atmospheric. My boy is just sitting there and there is this red lamp. Now, if you have read The Name of the Wind already, then you may know that these red lamps are pretty important because the students at the university, if they, take up lessons when they learn crafting and stuff, it is like the first thing that they learn to make or something, if I remember correctly. And also these red lamps are used in the library to give light, obviously, because this like library thing at the university is like a windowless building, so that the sunlight cannot damage the very old books there. And again, if you have read it, you know that quote gets into some trouble because of these red lamps, or rather because not having them. What is also beautiful in this book that it, as Rothfuss said himself, that he wanted to quote-unquote paint like different types of places. Like if we go in like somewhat chronological order, the village with goats in, this like happy time with the troop, the town where, you know, half of it is like one part of it is like poor people and the other is rich people, the university, and like I don't know the name, like Ademre, like, which is like another country, and like I pretty much don't know the names, but there's like another like kind of like wealthy kingdom, and like this like other civilization of people that is like completely different from like this quote-unquote European medieval type of things. And also there are like beautiful descriptions in it about like music and love and my baby boy Elodin. And this book overall just has this like very nice feeling when you read it. So if you haven't already, go and check it out. Now I also mentioned that there's like the Slow Regard of Silent Things. It is about the character Auri and how she spends her days. It is a very different sort of book, and a lot of people love it for it. And the Lightning Tree, I think I will talk about it in another video. So thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe if you like the content. I really want this channel to grow a bit and to make more videos. These are like a very different and fun kind of entertainment than the regular art posts I do weekly on like all of my social media or gallery. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.